How goes it? Vikramakula? How does it feel to have destroyed so many millions of lives with your insatiable greed?
Dr. Eunice, do not address me like that, please. I am sure I can pull a few punches myself.
You, sir, are responsible for the 200+ suicides of poor microfinance clients in India.
I resent your comments. Where's the evidence?
Your microfinance institution, SKS, staff harassed poor people who were already suffering due to their personal cash flow crises, that they decided to end their misery by taking their own lives. You are a murderer.
I didn't mean for that to happen. I became dazzled by the bling-bling of making millions of dollars. Deep down, I remain a committed poverty fighter, but greed is a terrible thing.
Go on.
Dr. Eunice, where it destroyed those poor lives, it has eaten me up from the inside. I have become a zombie.
You have fallen very far from the poverty fighter that you pretended to be.
What about profits?
But you forgot that microfinance is not simply a business. It has two bottom lines. Where it is the traditional financial bottom line, it also seeks to increase the social bottom line.
What you sayin', old man?
Microfinance institutions need to be always concerned with social outcomes, like how many people are they moving out of poverty. That, Vikram, is called impact.
My idea was to bring in private money into the microfinance institutions, and it was for this reason that I promoted going for an IPO of my organization SKS.
You were plain wrong.
I admit now that I was wrong. We moved too fast. I mean, I wanted to scale up. I didn't want to be thrown out of my own organization like Steve Jobs. I started it. It was my baby. It was my idea, god damn it.
Didn't you walk away from the SKS IPO with $13 million in personal wealth? That is the kind of poverty fighting you were doing. You were stuffing your own pockets at the expense of the poor people. Shame on you.
Okay, sue me. Bringing private money for a quick profit is not the reason why the crisis in microfinance has occurred. You know that full well, Dr. Eunice.
Then why microfinance crisis happened?
The real reason is incentives that operate are completely perverse. And, to truly understand the crisis, you need to look at the financial crisis in the United States, especially moral hazard, adverse selection and principal agent problem.
Why don't you plead your case about what led to the microfinance crisis, and maybe I will consider it. So, fire away.
Dr. Eunice, why don't I explain this to you over a couple of beers?
I don't drink alcohol, you twit. But you can buy him coffee at Dunkin'. Starbucks reminds me of you.
To truly understand the microfinance crisis, we need to start with 3 concepts, which will be instrumental in understanding actual reasons behind the crisis. Number 1. Moral hazard. Number 2. Adverse selection. Number 3. Principal agent problem.
Go on. Make sure you state your case as best as you can, cause my reaction may surprise you.
So, basically, if I am making a loan to someone for some specific purpose like buying a house or starting a micro-enterprise, however, only God knows what's the real reason why they are taking loan. I mean, do they really want to start a micro-enterprise, or do they wanna buy the latest mobile phone?
So lenders have limited information?
This limited information on part of the lender in this lender-borrower situation is called moral hazard.
How can we prevent it?
Generally, lenders work around moral hazard by maintaining stringent client screening methods. It's also called due diligence or KYC protocols.
So, what you are telling me is that with our Tufts, BA, Yale, MA, and U of Chicago, PhD, you couldn't figure this out. What have you been smoking, yo?
Well, microfinance institutions like the SKS could not have due diligence procedures properly. Because, hey, we were busy growing too fast.
Any other reasons?
Now, there is a second reason why microfinance like SKS was negatively impacted, and that has to do with adverse selection.
I think it seems like the sector has made an adverse selection in making you in charge of SKS. But, since you're buying this coffee, I will let you explain.
As I mentioned earlier, that we didn't pay much attention to due diligence. We were so fixated on growth and therefore chose borrowers who were least likely to use the loans productively. We made what in economics is called adverse selection.
How did that impact you, Boyo?
Well, when the going got tough in India, remember when the prices of oil were touching $150 a barrel in the international market in 2008? Well, such spikes in inflation put a lot of pressure on the poor, those who were the clients of SKS.
Blame it on the oil, now?
Microfinance borrowers' cash flows started to get squeezed because increase in the gas price in developing countries results in an inflation multiplier. It increases the price of everything else.
What does inflation have to do with your stupidities?
There you go again. Even when I bought you quality Dunkin' coffee, you are, how do they say, being crusty.
You can kill people and I cannot be crusty?
To continue, we were too fixated on increasing our customer base and not really paying attention to the quality of our portfolio. We were pushing loans in the market even when we weren't sure about whether these microfinance borrowers could actually pay us back.
Yeah, that's called greed with a capital G.
Finally, the increasing prices put pressure on their cash flows and they started defaulting in huge numbers.
You don't say. And microfinance institutions like SKS didn't engage in unethical collection practices? Because I heard that you were being aggressive about collections. No?
Says who?
Matter of fact, your collection practices were downright unethical and would have landed you in jail. Were you still in California? Go, yo.
To that, my dear Dr. Eunice, I do plead guilty as charged. An organization that should be fighting poverty should not be focusing on increasing its portfolio by inviting private money through IPOs. It changes your focus.
It's also called mission drift. You ignore due diligence. You push loans on people without ensuring whether they can actually pay these loans back, and your collections methods become unethical.
Right said, Fred.
But speak to him about the suicides, you criminal.
Dr. Eunice, you know there is a principal-agent problem operating in any organization. It means that any organization faces monitoring-related problems. Monitoring of the agents, firm employees, is expensive, man.
During your time at the U of Chicago, you probably come across the concept of efficiency wage?
Refresh my memory, will ya? Herr Doctor.
In order to deal with the principal agent problem, firms pay higher than minimum wage to hire and retain better workers. It is called efficiency wage. But you just wanted to only maximize your profits like the corporate fat cats.
In SKS's case, our collection officers ended up either not going to our clients at all, or when they did, they used abusive language and harassed poor people who were already under a lot of mental and financial stress, and so the outcome wasn't perfect?
Wasn't perfect. Wasn't perfect. You and your harassing collection agents were responsible for over 200 suicides in just 2010.
Yes, our conduct was not proper.
One poor 18-year-old girl committed suicide when your collection agents walked away with 150 rupees. That poor child was saving for her exam entrance fee. You know that's $3 versus the $13 million you made from fighting poverty.
I was just trying to make capitalism work by providing poor people with money. Because, you know, no one provides money to the poor people. who cannot afford to post any collateral.
Make capitalism work? Yeah, right. Do you know how so many people committed suicide? Do you know, you ferocious capitalist animal? They drank pesticide.
Why you blame me for something they did? I mean, I didn't ask them to end their lives. We all make choices, and sometimes we make poor ones. And we must pay the price.
Choices.
There are a lot of lessons I have learned from this fiasco.
You haven't learned anything. And, even if you have learned anything, the likes of you always walks away with the wrong lessons. You just don't learn, do you?
What's that, Dr. Eunice?
Say hello to my little friend.
Who's the number you dialing? That was a very short number. Just 3 digits.
The number is 911, and I am gonna talk to the police. I am going to tell them that I have a murder red pin down here and they should come and arrest you and throw you in jail.
Hey, old man, what's this? Didn't you say you would let me explain and that you would consider that?
But I also said that I may surprise you. Merry Christmas.